Imagine sitting alone in a quiet room at 4 years old while a researcher places a single, fluffy marshmallow right on the table directly in front of you. The adult looks you in the eyes and promises that he must leave for 15 minutes, but if you do not eat this treat, you will get 2. You probably remember this iconic setup as the Stanford marshmallow experiment of 1970, which became the global gold standard for measuring human willpower and predicting future life achievements. For over 50 years, the entire world believed the simple takeaway that a child's internal ability to resist temptation was the ultimate secret weapon for securing wealth. If you want to understand why you make choices the way you do, especially when dealing with money and career risks, you need to look at this data. I break down one deep psychological concept per video in plain English. So if you want to master the hidden forces driving your behavior, subscribe and turn on the bell. What the popular self-help books and high-performance gurus never mentioned is that the legendary study harbored a massive hidden flaw that completely distorts our view of human potential. The original conclusion was simple and dramatic because the toddlers who managed to wait grew up to score significantly higher on their SATs and maintained lower body mass index scores. This created a multi-billion-dollar character education industry built entirely on the premise that raw, unadulterated willpower is a stable genetic trait that dictates whether you win or lose. But before we pull back the curtain on the massive scientific twist that turned this entire theory upside down, we must examine how the original test was conducted. Psychologist Walter Mischel launched this historic project using fewer than 90 children, all of whom were enrolled in a preschool located right on the elite campus of Stanford University. Think about the last time you desperately tried to resist a bad habit, like checking your phone or spending money, and blamed your lack of inner strength for the failure. What most people never realize is that you were fighting an invisible ghost, because self-control is almost never about your internal character or your moral fortitude. The breakthrough came when researcher Tyler Watts and his team decided to execute a massive conceptual replication using data from over 900 diverse children across the United States. When the new team ran the exact same protocols with a broader population, the legendary correlation between waiting for the marshmallow and achieving teenage academic glory completely vanished. Look closely at your own life right now and ask yourself how many times you have abandoned a long-term financial plan just to grab a quick reward. You might think you just lack discipline, but the groundbreaking modern data proved that a 4-year-old's capacity to wait is heavily dictated by their family background and social environment. A child growing up in a household where food security is uncertain and promises are frequently broken faces a completely different logical calculation than a wealthy child. If you are not entirely sure that the second marshmallow will actually appear because resources are scarce, eating the single treat in front of you is the most intelligent decision. The modern replication proved that once you statistically control for parental income, maternal education, and home stability, the marshmallow test stops predicting anything about your future. The name for this profound psychological phenomenon is environmental reliability. And once you understand it, you will see it playing out across every corporate ladder and consumer market. Companies have known this hidden reality for decades, which is why they specifically design modern digital spaces to exploit the deep architectural flaws in your environmental trust. Take a moment to consider the genius behind Amazon's famous one-click ordering patent, which deliberately removes the natural friction points that give your rational mind time to intervene. By eliminating the time it takes to enter your credit card details, they ensure that your brain grabs the immediate digital marshmallow before your logical prefrontal cortex can object. Before I get to the most counterintuitive part of this new science, let us first understand how a chaotic environment literally alters your physical brain chemistry over time. When an organism senses that its surroundings are volatile, it naturally shifts into an opportunistic processing mode that prioritizes immediate survival advantages over distant, uncertain payoffs. Your evolutionary ancestors did not survive by leaving fresh meat out in the open while hoping a larger meal would magically materialize tomorrow afternoon. What researchers found truly startling was that the children of highly educated parents could wait longer because they possessed an absolute certainty that the adult would return. Wealthy environments act as an invisible cushion that trains the human nervous system to accept delays because the promised reward has a 100% delivery rate. Therefore, when you see a successful entrepreneur taking massive, patient risks over a 10-year period, you are rarely witnessing a superhuman display of raw individual willpower. What you just learned about children and marshmallows explains something completely different, like why you might stay in a toxic corporate job far longer than you should. You are not necessarily lazy or terrified of change. Your brain is simply defaulting to the guaranteed single marshmallow of a steady paycheck because the future feels inherently unreliable. Stay with me, because what I am about to show you in the next 2 minutes is the exact mechanism that actually determines whether you achieve long-term success. The modern data revealed that the true predictor of human achievement is not the ability to resist temptation through agonizing struggle, but the art of designing an environment devoid of it. The children who successfully resisted the treat did not just stare at it with heroic discipline. They covered their eyes, sang songs, and actively turned their bodies away. They changed their immediate sensory inputs so that their brains were never forced to expend valuable cognitive energy on resisting the allure of the immediate prize. Psychologists call this proactive strategy executive regulation, and it proves that true high achievers do not have more willpower than you. They simply use less of it. If you rely strictly on your internal mental strength to avoid distractions while working, you will inevitably suffer from a severe condition known as ego depletion. Your daily supply of conscious discipline behaves exactly like a limited smartphone battery that steadily drains every single time you force yourself to say no. The real secret to building wealth and maintaining focus is to systematically engineer your physical surroundings so that the negative temptation is completely removed from your sight. Instead of trying to resist checking your notifications every 5 minutes while working, you must physically place your smartphone in an entirely separate room. Instead of hoping your financial discipline will save your savings account, you must automate your investments the exact morning your monthly paycheck hits your bank profile. When you remove the friction of making a choice, you liberate massive amounts of mental capital that can be redirected toward high-value creative execution. This brings us to the dark reveal of our modern cultural obsession with the flawed interpretations of the classic Stanford marshmallow experiment. By framing success as a pure reflection of individual grit, society quietly shifts the entire burden of systemic economic inequality onto the character of the individual. It allows institutions to claim that people fail financially because they lack personal discipline, rather than admitting that their environments are structurally volatile. You have been conditioned to fight against your own biology by attempting to tolerate broken systems through the sheer force of psychological exhaustion. But once you realize that your brain is just reacting logically to the reliability of your current situation, you can stop feeling guilty about past failures. You can finally pivot away from the exhausting cycle of self-blame and begin focusing entirely on stabilizing the structural foundations of your daily routine. Real, lasting transformation occurs when you stop trying to be a stronger warrior and start building a much more secure and predictable fortress for your mind. So let us pull this entire paradigm shift together into a clean, actionable blueprint that you can implement starting the exact second this video concludes. First, understand that the iconic Stanford marshmallow test did not measure a permanent destiny. It measured a child's trust in the reliability of their surroundings. Second, stop wasting your limited daily willpower on fighting constant battles against accessible temptations, because your internal battery will always run completely dry by evening. Third, consciously rebuild your environment by automating your financial investments, hiding your digital distractions, and creating predictable spaces that naturally foster long-term cognitive patience. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden biases that secretly govern your relationship with money and personal productivity, make sure to hit the subscribe button right now. Share this video with one person you know who deserves to understand this hidden truth about willpower and human psychology. One deep, meaningful conversation about environmental reliability could completely change how they view their financial choices and themselves for the rest of their life. Your environment is the invisible hand that shapes your destiny, so stop fighting the marshmallow and start changing the room you are sitting in today. Thank you for watching this deep dive, and I will see you in the very next breakdown of human behavior. Stay focused, stay strategic, and always remember that true success is engineered through design rather than won through sheer human agony.